President Trump shocks NBC panel with a fantastic interview. Take a look.
I began the interview with one of the top issues for voters, the economy and the cost of living. I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
If you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created.
What were your key takeaways from this conversation?
Well, a couple of things, Kristen. You know, I was struck by how succinctly the president-elect summed up his mandate. He said, I won on the border and I won on groceries, and how quickly he plans to move on both of those fronts. And then his posture on retribution against his perceived political adversaries. You know, he is suggesting that he'll keep some distance from the FBI and the Justice Department in a way perhaps he didn't during his first term. So he's saying, you know, those decisions about investigations, they'll be left up to the people that I put in those agencies. However, you know, some of these folks should probably be in jail. And so, you know, that message comes off as a little bit mixed, and he's saying it knowing that the people that he's putting in these jobs are people who share his views on these issues. And so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out.
It will be, Eugene, and to hear him back away from what he had posted on Truth Social, that he did want to go after President Biden. He backed away from that. Yeah. He said his success is going to be his retribution. But as Carol notes, there was some mixed messaging. Broadly speaking, he had some pretty strong language for the January 6th committee.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was most fascinating is he didn't seem very combative in this interview, right? Including on those points, right? He said some names. He said Benny Thompson, Liz Cheney, maybe they should be in jail, maybe not. That's someone else's decision. But he didn't want to fight with you, right? And that's something that he often wants to do. So it shows you, one, that he feels emboldened. He won this election. He feels ready to move on. And I thought what was most fascinating is there's no ideological purity with him, and that popped up over and over and over again, right? It's a patchwork of different policy prescriptions for things that usually, if you're a Republican, there's kind of, you know, this, and this, and that's what we care about. That wasn't here with Donald Trump. And I think that kind of gives voters what they wanted, which was not exactly a Republican who's going to do all of the things that Republicans typically do.
It's a fascinating way to put it, Mark, that there's no ideological purity that we heard, but he was very clear about what his agenda items were, and he feels emboldened that he believes he has a mandate after his decisive win.
Well, he should, and I thought he looked very relaxed and confident in your long interview covering a lot of topics. I do think that you're going to see a flurry of activity in the first 100 days from the executive branch, but I do think something that's being underappreciated here from a legislative agenda is, what is the legislative agenda? The one item that's really there is going to be trying to renew the tax relief package from 2017. And when that was passed, 12 House Republicans defected. So we talk about the fact that there are 53 Republican senators, which should help in his confirmations. But Speaker Johnson's going to have an enormous task next year, and it's going to be a really hard job. And he really is going to have a margin of 1 or 2 members at all to actually can lose. And so getting legislation through the Congress is going to be very difficult. And certainly if Trump isn't getting his way, he's going to blame Senate and House leadership for that.
And those tax cuts are very